Hey folks, so I'm here today to talk about the pricing and attributes when it comes to food belts and high temperature belts. Now, for something to be considered a food belt, it needs to be USDA and or FDA approved. Now to do this, the manufacturers have to submit an application and put the material through a series of tests. For example, one of these tests is called the extraction test. And this is where the FDA determines how much of the belt material is extruded into the processed food once the process is done. Now, all of this testing requires a lot of time and money. So anything that has the USDA or FDA approval is generally going to have a cash outlay that's going to be more than if it didn't. Now, there's three main materials that are used for food belts. This is urethane, nitrile, and PVC. Now, urethane is going to be your most expensive material, but this is because it has a higher chemical resistance and it's more durable than the other two materials. A urethane belt is always going to outlast a nitrile or a PVC belt. Now, nitrile is a little bit cheaper than urethane, and PVC is going to be cheaper than the nitrile. And this is because of its lack of durability. So right here, we have two examples of food belts. On the left is a PVC food belt, and on the right is a urethane one. Now, something else that determines them being food belts is the fabrications. This urethane belt on the right is pin driven. This belt is used in pork production, and in pork production, things tend to get greasy and the belts tend to slip. However, being pin driven, this prevents that and allows for a more accurate conveyance. When it comes to high temperature belting, there are three materials that are generally used. There's Kevlar, Nomex, and fiberglass. Now, Kevlar and Nomex are going to be generally around the same price. However, despite this, Kevlar will solve way more problems than Nomex will, so it's generally the obvious choice. Fiberglass is going to be a little bit cheaper. Now, when determining which of these materials you need to use, you need to consider the ambient temperature, the strength needed, and environmental conditions such as acids, salts, and ultraviolet radiation. I'm going to link above and below an article where we discuss the pros and cons of each of these materials. When it comes to determining which material that you're currently using, you can usually do this by looking at the color. Kevlar is going to be more yellow like this, whereas fiberglass is going to be a darker color. Now, these two materials generally come in two forms. And we have two fiberglass belts right here. One is mesh and one is smooth. Now, your mesh belts are going to be used for your drying applications since the hot air can go through the holes. Your smooth belts are going to most often be used for general conveying. Despite everything that was covered in this video, there's still some outside factors that determine the price of the belt. These factors are things such as selling expenses, overhead, the dimensions of the belt, and the freight. I have linked above and in the description a video where we cover our freight process and how it's kind of priced. And hopefully this clarifies why our belt is priced what it is in the quote. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.